And just like that, we are live. I'm starting to get used to the way YouTube launches, because it used to be hit that button to go live, and that's not the case with YouTube. So I give it to all you YouTubers. Oh, my watermark is right over my face. Isn't that fantastic? I'll bring myself up here. You can see me. Okay. So, I just came back from Texas Roadhouse. You gotta try their rattlesnake bites. They're fucking delicious. I was out with a coworker, Tommy Frizz, as they call him. And, enjoyed the rest of my evening waiting for my food, hanging out with a judge. Even the justices are saying that this bail reform is out of control. And I asked him, I said, what was the one case that stuck out in your mind, or what keeps you up at night, like stresses you? And he came straight out and said he doesn't like putting people in jail, choosing to take somebody's freedom like that and put them in a cage. They really have to earn it. So there's some good justices out there. And Tommy, it was a pleasure meeting you tonight. Not Tommy coworker. It was a pleasure meeting you when I met you, Tommy the Justice. So everybody's talking about this Ukraine-Russia deal. It's great for Biden's ratings. It's not the cause of the rise in gas prices as much as Biden wants to scapegoat Putin. No, it's your energy policies, you dipshit. And we're not ready for electric cars. We don't have the charging infrastructure. The trucks can't carry the cargo. We're not there yet. So you're going to have to deal with combustible engines. Plus, the electric vehicles are worse for the environment. We need to use child slaves to go dig up lithium and destroy the fucking planet to build these things. And then when they're done, you're not going to pay 10 grand to respool a generator or an electric motor. We're going to have so much e-waste. It's like throwing out computers. So, with all that in mind, we're going to put that aside. Now, I might catch a copyright strike here, and I'm glad to fucking do it. In the description, you're going to see links to 2 different channels. Indigo Traveler and Bold and Bankrupt. These guys are over there in the fucking Ukraine. So, while I eat my ribeye, thank you to Lord for this food I'm about to receive. We're gonna watch these together. There's nothing better when it comes to. There's been such an information war with this situation. People on the ground are the best source, because what's happening is horrific. And I think with some of my posts, people might have this misconception that I'm siding with Putin, or I'm a Putin apologist. Nope, that motherfucker needs to be dragged out into the public square and hanged. The war crimes, he's attacking civilians. Imagine sitting in your house with your family and a jet comes over and just bombs you. It's despicable. This guy that you see on the screen here, he needs to be tried for war crimes. But the stuff that I see people yelling, Zelensky, the president, Mr. Comedy nightclub comedian, he's playing a fucking role. He's getting his people killed. That man has no business being in office. None. And he's letting the people of Ukraine be slaughtered while he's on a mission. And I give it to the people of Ukraine. I wish half of America had the fighting spirit that the Ukrainians have, you know. But America is lost. There's very few of us that understand what's going on, and the wag the dogs and the propaganda and the bullshit. You know, the leftists do things that make them feel good, but they don't actually do good. Not at all. These motherfuckers talk about how everybody should be empowered and they want to go after the rich, but then they vote for communism. their dots don't line up. Their elevator doesn't reach the top floor. So, without further ado, I bought dinner. It's been a while. I figured I owe you all something, a little bit of content, and these guys put something together on the two of their channels. I'm bringing it all home here. If I get flagged or copyrighted, I get it, but in this instance, I think it's totally worth it. And well, I'm gonna step aside. I'm gonna hit play on these. You're gonna see me go through a couple of videos, and I'll be back. I'm gonna jump in and out, but this shit's worth seeing, because even the Ukrainians, up until the day of invasion, were like, nah, nothing's going on. No, nothing's going on. And for once, when Biden said they're gonna invade, well, either he told them to or he knew it, but they were right for once. For once. What they're doing with the gasoline engines, the electric cars, the energy sector, Putin's not to blame for higher gas prices. Your actual fascist in chief is. I don't believe that guy got 81 million votes. In fact, the ledgers are coming out to prove that he lost. But what are you going to do? I warned a lot of my friends. They said, oh, Trump's going to come out, this and that, January 6th. They're going to reverse the thing. They're going to this and that. I said, no, prepare yourself for a Biden election. They stole it fair and square. I'm not allowed to say these things. You want to see my channel get banned? Eric Ciaramella. For those of you that don't know what that is, if you want to get banned on Facebook real quick, just type that out. Eric, E-R-I-C, Ciaramella, C-I-A-R-A-M-E-L-L-A. Watch how quick you get fucking banned, and half of you don't even know who that is. But since we're still live and we're going, here we go. Pray for Ukraine. These fucking civilians are getting bombed and destroyed by a military. Anybody think anything less of this fucking... He's a brutal, murderous dictator. You know, and that's what I've been screaming. That people... What did you expect? I'm not a Putin apologist. Not at all. I don't like the way he runs this country. And I don't like how he just murders people. But Zelensky doesn't belong running Ukraine. And I think he's on a goddamn suicide mission, trying to look like Napoleon. Even Napoleon knew when to step down, or Alexander the Great, one of them. What about Japan? Japan, it's not in their blood to fucking surrender until we drop 2 nuclear bombs on them. You know, had they surrendered before the nuclear bombs, this is what you have to understand. If Japan surrendered before the nuclear bombs, the people of Japan would have never had to live through or vaporize from nuclear bombs. Zelensky is having his people slaughtered by the military of Russia to prove a point. To be like, oh, I'm a great leader, a patriot. We fight to the death. That motherfucker ain't fighting. He's in a stronghold. He's in a bunker somewhere. Nobody's touching him. I'm not afraid of anybody. This is where I am. Come get me. Well, they're slaughtering your people. They're not coming to get you. Eventually they will. But you're not going to win the battle. And then when you back somebody like Putin into a fucking corner, you really think he wouldn't use nukes? Are you out of your mind? Zelensky's on a goddamn suicide mission. And I pray for the people of Ukraine. This is just, it's a fuck show. There's no other way to put it. So, I'm going to play these 2 videos. They're from other YouTubers. Indigo Traveler and Bold and Bankrupt. They are there. They're in Hungary and Ukraine. And, well, here's some on-the-ground footage, because everything else is filtered through the media. And you don't get on-the-ground footage. So here we go. I'm gonna enjoy this steak. Whoever I see, we got someone live here. Whoever you are, hello, welcome to the live. And here we go.
Conducts a special military operation. Whoever would try to stop us and further create threats to our country, to our people, should know that Russia's response will be immediate and lead you to such consequences that you have never faced in your history.
Russia intensifying its invasion, increasingly hitting civilian as well as military targets.
We now have a situation where people are being killed, where Ukrainian servicemen are dying, where civilians are being bombed, where families are fleeing.
Once again, Russia hitting civilian sites. More than 1 million refugees from the country, and predict many more are likely to leave as the Russian onslaught continues.
These aren't military targets. They are places where civilians work and families live.
It's a declaration of war against the whole of Europe.
Major all-out military assault by Russia to capture and seemingly subjugate the whole country, the north, the east, the south, and even the west. Vladimir Putin just does not think that Ukraine is a state.
As I'm sure most of you, if not all of you know, Ukraine has been invaded by Russia. There's a full-scale war happening right there. Here we are in Hungary. I'm based in Hungary, which is a country bordering Ukraine. I'm currently driving towards the Ukrainian border. Tens of thousands of refugees have already been arriving in Hungary. We've seen them where I live in the south, which is 4 hours from the border. As I'm sure you can imagine, at the border itself, there's lots of refugees. We've been driving for a few hours, still a few more hundred.
Good morning, guys, from Przemyśl here in southern Poland. Just up the road stands the border with Ukraine. Ukraine, a nation which, well, if Joe Biden and the British press are to be believed, stands on the cusp of a devastating invasion by none other than Vladimir Putin. I'm now gonna head into Ukraine and cross that vast land, visiting some of its border areas and hopefully meeting some of the locals and asking them what it's like to live under the shadow of a war. Join me. Well, every journey has to begin somewhere, and ours is beginning at the old abandoned communist bus stop. The abandoned communist bus stop of Przemyśl. From here. Okay, Medyka. Granica. Okay. Dobrze. Dziękuję. Dziękuję. That was me conversing in fluent Polish. You may have noticed, some of you Poles, don't be surprised. My granddad was a Pole, a proud Polish man. And so I'm back on home soil, so to speak. Back in the motherland. Anyway, we're waiting for a bus, a number 9, that's going to take us to the village of Medyka, and from there we're going to walk across the border into Ukraine. And there they are. The lovely Polish people. Could be related to these two people, you never know. Okay, I'm going. Bye-bye. Do widzenia. Wow. Dobry dzień, pan. No?
And you didn't hear anything that I just said, because I forgot to turn off the mute button. Okay, well, we'll leave that for, whatever. I'm not repeating myself with all that. But basically, Zelensky's on a suicide mission. Russia has very few demands. Sometimes the bully takes your lunch money. And then the government is giving out guns to the people and constricting, constricted to the service. They are banning people between 18 and 60 from leaving because they have to fight for the nation using guns. So you remember that when your government tells you that you're not supposed to have guns, or these idiots who want to watch Americans get slaughtered tell you you're not allowed to have a magazine with more than 10 rounds. Well, fuck you. I'll own whatever the hell I want. I don't abide by American gun laws. Ever since I lost all my guns in a Revolutionary War reenactment. The good guys never take the guns. You're gonna need your guns when it comes to the government. Or any government. Possibly a foreign government. We have an invasion going on at the southern border nobody talks about. But we can't be going around giving MiGs, giving F-16s, getting NATO involved in this shit. Zelensky needs to stop playing an actor and end the slaughter of the Ukrainian people. Sorry, it sucks. But Putin's getting Crimea. Crimea is his. He's got his nuclear subs parked down there. You're not going to landlock Russia, a nuclear power? Little corrupt Ukraine that Biden uses to launder his money? How are we going through such a gas crisis if the Bidens are so into the energy field enough where Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma, a natural gas company? And these do-nots can't figure it out? No. Good luck with your electric cars. You go get a bucket of electric when you run out. We don't have the infrastructure. These people are insane. And, you know, this whole thing with Ukraine, people are siding with the people of Ukraine. I agree with. But remember, the Ukrainian government launders money for the Bidens. And assholes like Hannity and these warmongers on Fox, they love it. They need it for their ratings. Even Biden. If this conflict wasn't going on right now, Biden would probably be in like a 15% approval rating. That's basically a sum up of what I had said with the mic off. So we'll go back to bold and bankrupt.
Bardzo dobrze. We're travelling across a region of Europe called Galicia. So many battles, First World War, Second World War, Napoleon, all passed through this region of Europe. Dziękuję pan. Well, we're on the border, and what I like about this border between Ukraine and Poland is they've got a boxing machine so that you can settle your wars through who's the hardest puncher, the Poles or the Ukrainians, or maybe the Russians, I don't know. Russians are quite strong too. Anyway, let's cross the border down here somewhere, if we can. If it's open on a Sunday, I reckon it is. Dawidziennie Polska. Ojczyzna moja, tu jesteś jak zdrowie. Let's enter Ukraine. Добрый день. Как там, спокойно еще, Украина?
Еще спокойно.
Да? Путин нету еще?
Нет войны.
Слава Богу.
Нету войны.
Хорошо. Женщины, как там, спокойно еще?
Спокойно.
Спокойно. Путин нету?
Не стреляй.
Нет? Слава Богу.
Он спокойно.
О, хорошо, рад это слышать.
Можна?
Давайте, конечно, я могу. Давай.
Дякую. 50 кілометрів з судової.
Да? А вы не боитесь еще Украины?
Did I hear
Чего?
gunfire
Война.
Та яка війна?
before where it's peaceful? Listen to that.
Как там, спокойно еще Украина?
Еще спокойно.
Да? Путин нету еще?
Нет войны.
Слава Богу.
Нету войны.
Хорошо.
You hear that? Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. It's very slight. Listen back.
Здоровья.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Yeah.
Let's enter Ukraine. Добрый день. Как там, спокойно еще Украина?
Еще спокойно.
Да? Путин нету еще?
Нет войны.
Слава Богу.
Нету войны.
Хорошо. Женщины, как там,
I
спокойно
heard
еще?
fucking gunfire.
Спокойно. Путин нету?
Не стреляй.
Нет? Слава Богу.
I heard gunfire.
Женщины, как
Listen
там,
to it.
спокойно еще?
Спокойно.
Спокойно. Путин нету?
Не стреляй.
Нет? Женщины, как там, спокойно еще?
Спокойно.
Tu jesteś jak zdrowie. Let's enter Ukraine. Добрый день. Как там, спокойно еще Украина?
Еще спокойно.
Да? Путин нету еще?
Нет войны.
Слава Богу.
Нету войны.
Хорошо. Женщины, как там,
Sound
спокойно
like
еще?
gunfire.
Спокойно.
Спокойно. Путин нету?
Не стреляй.
Нет? Слава Богу.
Он спокойно.
О, хорошо, рад это слышать.
Можна?
Давайте, конечно, я могу. Давай.
Дякую. 50 кілометрів з судової.
Да? А вы не боитесь еще Украины?
Чого?
Ну, война.
Та яка війна?
Не? Не будет?
Нету, не будет никакой войны.
О, рад это слышать. Надеюсь, что нет. Well, I was just majorly cross-examined, my bags thoroughly searched by the border guards. Why have I got a Russian visa in my passport? When was I last in Russia? What are my plans? Well, it seems the people that we met going back to Poland aren't scared of a war, but government officials certainly are. Let's go further into Ukraine. Что у вас сейчас, машина?
Машина.
Сколько стоит?
Куда вы, Львове?
В Львове центральный рынок.
На рынок?
Да, на рынок, старый рынок.
Центр?
Центр именно.
Еще раз в Украине.
Еще раз. А когда был?
Я был здесь летом. Да, летом я был здесь.
Летом.
Да.
Ну как?
А пан где живет? Польский или?
Не, я англичанин.
Ангел.
Да, да,
пан
да.
говорит хорошо.
Чуть-чуть.
Ну так.
А вы тоже?
Я
Украинский, наверное, мове знает.
украинский знаю, да?
Да. Понятно.
Ну, то русские. Русские раньше везде, ну, большинство учили, не, как бы.
Да.
Ну, и английский это на первом.
Ну. Ну как здесь сейчас ситуация? Вы думаете, что оккупация будет или нет?
Не знаю, тяжело что-то сказать.
Да.
Тяжело что-то сказать. Кто-то говорил, что подписал, как бы, что будет воевать. Правда это, неправда, всякие слухи ходят.
А если война, что вы будете делать?
Я не
решили пока.
Еще, смотря какая война.
Ну да.
Молодые какие-то.
Еще раз, дякую.
Удачи.
До побачення.
До побачення.
We've made it to Old Lviv. Можно я спрошу что-то? Я думаю, что вы патриотка. Может так, да? А что вы думаете про ситуацию с Россией? Будет война, будет оккупация или что ваше мнение?
Ну, я не хочу вірити, щоб була та війна. Ми на протязі оцих всіх років ми їздимо до хлопців на схід. Це вже 8 років з Майдану. І ми їздимо дуже часто, щомісяця. І я теж перейшла Майдан, я не думала, що буде війна. І в це не хочу вірити, просто вже не хочу.
А если будет, что вы будете делать? Вы будете переехать где-то?
Ні, ми будемо патріот, ми будемо захищати. Ми зараз ще сильніші стали. Наші збройні сили стали сильніші. Ми тоді взагалі без нічого були, без ніяких там навіть зброї. Ні, зараз я впевнена, що ми навпаки міцніші. Ні, я не встигну, як я без України. Це як маму міняти.
А вы не боитесь?
Ну, чого боюсь?
Well, the people on the streets of Lviv seem quite relaxed about the situation. However, listening to USA morning news, you would think that the invasion is 100% certainly going to happen. That's the story that they're running with anyway. The city of Lviv looks nothing like any of the other towns that we've passed through on our travels across the former Soviet Union. It used to be called Lvov or Lemberg because this town was actually built primarily by Poles, Austro-Hungarians, even Czechs. And the people of this part of Ukraine have always looked towards the West. They've been drawn towards the ideas and the ideals of the West. However, in the east of the country, it's a different situation. The Dnieper River that dissects this great land in two is also a division of mentalities. The people in the eastern part of the Ukraine look more towards Russia. And that is the fundamental problem that Ukrainian statehood has. How to reconcile the two parts of this nation. Рахів, Харків. Супер. Дякую за помочь. Дякую. До побачення. Well, that was Lviv, where everything's pretty calm and peaceful. However, we're now going to travel across this vast country. You can see this map here. We're going to travel from the city all the way across to Kharkiv, which is pressed up against the Russian border in the east of the country. We're going to see how life is progressing over there.
Вакцинація все є?
Еще есть?
Вакцинація.
Да, есть. Сейчас, да? Хорошо.
100 k's to go. We're going to go to the border, meet the refugees, hear their stories, and try to spread a bit of awareness about the atrocities that are happening in that country right now. So let's get on the road, head down the motorway here, and see what happens.
A series of reports that there could be effectively a declaration of war to join Russia before the talks on Monday opened up. Now it would seem any hope for these talks to continue could well be destroyed, because Ukraine had specifically asked for an assurance that there would be no development like this, there would be no move from Belarus to actually get its army involved. Really obvious targeting of civilian areas. 3 children were killed, burned to death, according to the mayor of the city.
Okay, so we've arrived at Tisabac, which is a small Hungarian town, population of only about 1,500, but that's drastically changed. You could see on the way here the military presence driving along the motorway, huge convoy of military vehicles. Police presence here is super strict. Had to park the car down the road here. We're walking, it's about 200 meters. We're going to be at the border. They're sending through the refugees in batches. It's quite intense to see a sleepy little Hungarian village like this, which has now been turned into one of the main exits of a humanitarian crisis. We've seen a lot of cars with Ukrainian number plates. All these cars here are Ukrainian number plates. We've seen ambulances going past, some with the sirens on, driving really quickly. Obviously, this is nothing at all compared to what's going on the other side of the border. I have to make that very clear. This is a very stable place at the moment. On the other side of the border in the west of Ukraine, it's still reasonably stable from my sources there, but obviously the further east you go, yeah. So you can see here's the border crossing right there, so that's Ukraine right there. And we've got lots of journalists here, and then we've got an aid station right here giving out more immediate supplies. Here is when the people come over. You know, some people are traveling across the whole country, 30, 40-hour trips, even longer. Some of them haven't drank water in a long time. They're thirsty, they're hungry, so they need the immediate help. So behind me, a car has just crossed from Ukraine. They've been asking for different sizes of nappies for the kids in the car, water, food, and the local aid station here is just handing them to the car. Then they'll drive further into Hungary. They don't have the bare essentials. No. This apparently was a huge hotspot in the last few days. Now it's getting a bit more sophisticated, and they've moved the main aid station back, which we're going to go to next. But this whole area here, you can see there's a tent behind me. This was packed with refugees not that long ago.
Я не бачу. Ой, Боже.
I believe these women here with the bike, they've got a suitcase on there, one of these.
Я не бачу. Ой, Боже. Я не бачу. Ой, Боже. Я не бачу. Ой, Боже. Я не бачу. Ой, Боже.
I believe these women here with the bike, they've got a suitcase on there. One of these governmental officers here has just escorted them to the edge of the border zone, and now here they are, a bag. Who knows what they've left? A family, a husband, as males between the ages of 18 and 60 cannot leave the country. Okay, so I just met a journalist. He explained to me that somebody had just come over the border with internal bleeding and was rushed out of here in an ambulance. Obviously, there's still people with pre-existing medical problems. You know, there was a boy that we learned about that's come to Hungary looking for chemotherapy because he was in the middle of his chemotherapy treatment in Kiev and had to get rushed to Hungary because obviously it's being evacuated, right?
This is the biggest children's hospital in Ukraine, where medics and staff now risk their own lives to care for more than 190 desperately sick kids here. We're inside the main children's hospital, not just for Kiev, but for the entire country. And the reason we're heading down this passage and underground is because that's where the patients, the children, some of whom are on chemotherapy, have been moved for their own safety.
I've been based in Hungary on and off for half a decade, and you know, I travel around the world going to different areas of hardships a lot of the time, and to see it come here, I just never would have expected it to be right on my doorstep, but that's the reality, and nobody saw this coming. This yellow bus here has just come through the border and it's gone down here, and they're dropping the refugees off at a local school.
13-year-old Vova was badly injured when the family car came under attack. His father and cousin were killed, and he now fights for his life.
So we've just come into a community hall here, and these are all the donations, and this is an overflow of donations. I can speak for Hungary. Hungary has really come together and provided so much support for the refugees, so much food here, and this is an overflow, like I was just saying. So there's other places, first response places, and all this food will eventually go there, but just since we've been here, donors have been showing up, depositing so much food. It's really beautiful to see the camaraderie over here in this part of the world at the moment.
But the Russians do control Chernobyl, and the UN's nuclear watchdog groups are raising the alarm that for the first time, nuclear facilities are caught in the middle of a modern military conflict.
There's another Russia besides Putin's tanks, and we extend our hand of friendship to this other Russia. Be assured they have our support.
Today said that they are not, they deny that there are any war crimes committed by the Russian troops in Ukraine.
Would Putin really use them? He practiced a week ago, overseeing exercises of Russia's strategic deterrence forces. Typically unsubtle hints to America and NATO not to stand in his way over Ukraine.
So we've driven another 2 hours, following basically the border north. This is like one of the main train stations that comes from Ukraine. There's a huge group of police up here. Apparently there was a train that arrived here like an hour ago that had 1,000 refugees on it. That's what we were told by the journalists at the other border crossing that we just came from. There are some people up here, but there's an extremely heavy police presence. So, you know, I don't want to be interfering or causing a distraction or anything. Got to be obviously respectful. You can see the police presence here. It's huge. It's very rare in Hungary to see this much police presence. There's lots of trucks and things and police cars. So we've come to the area where the refugees are getting off the train. There's a lot of people of all nationalities, Africans, there's some Middle Easterns that just walk past there. NGOs trying to organize everybody.
This is not Russia's war. This is not a war by the Russian people and the Ukrainian people. This is yet another military adventure, military crime by an unelected, unaccountable, authoritarian, and frankly, increasingly deranged dictator in the Kremlin by the name of Vladimir Putin.
To protest in Russia takes a certain amount of courage, as it comes with the likelihood that you'll be detained, often violently. This is St. Petersburg, where they were chanting "No to War." An independent monitoring group reported protests in 44 Russian cities on Sunday.
Here in Moscow, the police are making it very difficult for people to try and protest. Anyone who so much as lingers in a suspected gathering area is taken away for questioning.
A soup kitchen right out the front of the train station here. And what I'm noticing is there's a lot of foreigners here. I think there was around 75,000 students inside of Ukraine when the war started. They've had some problems at the Polish border, so I believe a lot of them have come down here to Hungary, and they've been having better luck crossing over here. Okay, so we're outside the train station now. We've met Anand and Kumar. You guys are from India, from Delhi, right?
Yes, from India, Delhi.
Can you just explain to me the last, you say 5 days? Yes. You've been going through a lot of hard times. Can you just explain to us what you've been going through?
The situation in Kyiv is very, very bad. We are stayed like 4 days in the bunker. And yesterday we just ran out, there was the curfew just ended yesterday in the morning, 8 o'clock.
Right.
So we walked from
And before then you had to stay indoors.
Yes, we have to because everywhere was bombarding, everyone was strike, and we are hearing too many loud sounds. So we need to stay in the bunker, and then when the curfew ended, we just walked for 15 kilometers from our bunker to the Vokzal station, Kyiv, and then we took the train, and then we are here. We are out. The Ukrainian government announces that every government vehicle is free of cost. So there was no cost for trains, there was no cost for buses, and they arrange very good. From Ukraine to Krop, they have arranged a government vehicle for us, and it's all free of cost. So they are very supportive for us, and that's how we are here in the Hungary now. And a day after tomorrow, the embassy just informed us that you have flight from day after tomorrow.
So the Indian government's flying you home?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
At the UN today, the General Assembly condemning Russia's invasion in an historic 141-5 vote. Russia isolated, with even allies like Cuba and Iran abstaining.
So you've been treated well by Hungary so far?
Definitely.
Yeah?
We were just given some food stocks at there, and then here you can see there.
Yeah, I've seen. It's amazing.
The Ukrainian military troops were controlling everything. Like they are not allowing the Russian troops to come back in Kyiv. And I thanks to every government. I thanks to Ukrainian government. I thanks to Hungary, and I thanks to Indian government for evacuating us from like Kyiv to here, and then from here to from Hungary to India.
Okay.
I love you.
Those Indian guys were hiding in the metro stations of Kiev, which were originally made as metro stations but also doubled as bomb shelters, and now they're being used again in 2022 as bomb shelters. They spent 4 days in the bomb shelter. They finally come here. Indian government's paid for a flight for them back to India, and of course they've been through hard times, but they're not the Ukrainians that have had their houses and their families torn apart by this brutal war just across the border. We're very close to the border here. This is the first stop into Hungary if you're coming by train. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian refugees have entered Europe. Soon it will enter the millions. This could be one of the biggest refugee crises in the world.
People are just so upset. I can't keep stressing that. This gentleman is now going to take Amir, 2-year-old Amir, and his mum, and he's going to take her to the transport area just over there. You're going to go and you're going to try and work out what the next stage is of her journey.
Our house was bombed from the air. It was terrible, and we very. It was terrible.
It was terrible. So you've lost your home. Amir's lost his home. Thank you for speaking to us. It's stories like this we're hearing time and time again. If you think about the numbers of people coming, everybody has fled.
The Indian guys were telling me that there were many, many hundreds of people on the train coming from Kiev, where they fled from. But a lot of them got off before the train crossed the border. So millions of Ukrainians have moved to the west. And if the war spreads, if it gets unstable in the west, then they'll all come to Europe. So the refugee crisis is really intense. You know, we can't imagine the horror that's going on beyond this border now. People here behind me fleeing.
The Ukrainian people are being attacked from the air, from artillery, from ground troops and tanks. But the government has warned for days of Russian saboteurs who've infiltrated the country to bring terror. Death squads who are attacking civilians in their cars as they flee. They do exist, as we found out.
Whoa! Whoa! What? Whoa! Stop!
We think it's a Ukrainian checkpoint and a mistake, so we identify ourselves.
British journalists! 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 Journalista!
Somehow we have to get out of this, but the rounds keep coming. It's a professional ambush. The bullets just don't miss.
Whoa! Andre! Whoa! Journalist!
I'm hit, but escape the car, and with producer Dominic Van Heerden, we make our way down the embankment. Camera operator Richie Mockler has taken 2 rounds to his body armour, but is still stuck in the car. He runs for it in a hail of bullets. The 5 of us have made it out of the car, down the embankment, and we just can't believe we're alive.
I'm going to be speaking with a Ukrainian now who's in Ukraine, and he's going to tell us what it's like. He's fled from the east, so he's seen a lot, and he's a Ukrainian, so he'll be able to give us a better understanding. Just before we go and talk to him, I just want to tell you that I'm going to be doing a fundraiser for this. This is one of the main reasons I came out here today. Try and raise money for people on the ground in Ukraine facing this. We don't really have words for what's going on. I don't think the dictionary covers it. It's just beyond words. It's such a brutal act of war and invasion on a sovereign nation. I am doing a fundraiser. I've leave the link down below. Please consider donating. I've sourced a trustworthy charity. This will go towards feeding, housing, and giving shelter to women, children, and men going through absolute horror. Young kids, mothers, fathers. If you can find it within you, if you have a bit of spare money. Obviously, if you don't, no problem. I'll leave the link down below, and please feel free to chip in if you can, and it'll go to people on the ground. You know, just imagine one day you wake up and your country's been invaded by a neighboring country, and you're forced to flee after you've spent days in a bomb shelter. Okay, so I've arrived home after that day, seeing the border, seeing the refugees. We're gonna have some phone calls now. We're gonna talk to Igor. Igor is a man who some of you might know if you follow my videos. He's been my Chernobyl tour guide a couple times that I've been to Ukraine. One is a man who is in Lviv, who's fled from Kiev. Lviv's in the west, Kiev's in the center. We're gonna get into talking to them now.
Hello.
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 Hello. Where are you now?
On the motorway from Kiev to Odessa. I have a plan to get west, but Odessa is south. I'm not going to Odessa. But on the way from Kiev to west, road is blocked, bridges are bombed, destroyed. And there are heavy fighting there. If I want to commit suicide, I would choose direct way from Kiev to Lviv. Direct way, it's like suicide.
You're leaving Kiev. You stayed there for quite a while, a week or so. What's changed now? Is Kiev too dangerous now? Because you were there during the invasion, right? But what's changed?
I was pressed by my family, by my friends, why I stay Kiev with 3 kids.
You have 3 children, right?
Everyone is shocked why I'm still in Kiev, you know. Now I'm on the way to west.
It's just constant traffic, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, you know.
Right.
You see people are leaving. Some of them try to use a wrong way.
Okay, going on the wrong side of the road.
Which is not honest. I don't have Kalashnikov for such people with me. I forgot it.
It's good to see you still have your sense of humor. You know, we see on the news lots of things, but I want to know from your first-hand perspective what's going on right now in Kiev, Ukraine.
I guess you know better than me what's going on to Kiev. You can use any news channel what's going on. I get information what's going on in Kiev from the news. And from the distance I heard sounds of explosion, you know. Sometimes anti-missile or anti-aircraft system is working, you know. It creates a huge noise.
How does it make you feel that this is happening to your country? How do you feel now that you're running from your home to protect your family? What's going through your mind?
It's difficult to explain, you know. I guess human have some protection in mind from such situation, you know. Such a mess, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But now I understand other people who have such a war, you know.
Understand.
It's absolutely different when you feel it and when you see on TV or on YouTube.
Did you ever think this would happen, let's say 2 weeks ago? Did you expect the invasion to actually happen?
Nobody expected that, actually, but many people thought there is a big possibility. If I knew, you know, I would sell my house, my car with a good price, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I would leave the country.
You're currently trying to make your way to the west where most people are going, right? And then what's the plan once you get there?
There is no any exact plan. I'm going to the west. I don't know if you will live in Ukraine or not. There is no any plan.
You've got a cat. So you've got everything in your car, right? You've got your children, you've got your animals, you've got suitcases.
Well, if you guys are interested in finishing any of these videos, because I suggest you get information from people on the ground. The media is lying about it. The governments are spinning it to their advantage. This has been the greatest thing for Biden. His poll numbers are actually rising throughout this. And that man doesn't deserve an ounce of support. Believe it or not, there's a sector of our population who actually appreciate and support higher gas prices because they want to push us into electric vehicles. They don't understand the concept of infrastructure. They actually support slave labor of children. These people they're wackadoodles. And what you're witnessing here is why America should never give up their guns. Your government's not your babysitter. The enemy of the people is the government. The government. Hi NSA, hi FBI, hi Alphabet people. You can fucking say what you want. I don't trust you. And I'm not going to bring myself to a point where I'm going to rely on the government to hand me weapons to fight for my own freedoms. I'm going to fight for my own freedoms regardless. And the first strike is you motherfuckers. Because you guys are the ones going around playing police of the world. You're stealing our money. It's armed robbery. Taxes are armed robbery. That's what you're doing. What happens if you don't pay your taxes? We're going to stick you in a cage. Well, who's going to stick me in the cage? The police. Okay. What happens if I resist? They draw their weapons on you. So basically, we're pointing guns at you. We're stealing your money. And the people got to wake up. And to the communists in America who want to vote for Big Daddy government, I say we annex you all. We ship you all off, banish you to China. I've been to China. It's not that bad. You were there as a tourist. Go there as a fucking citizen when the government owns you. The whole idea of America was self-governing. And we did so well at being a free people that we spoiled ourselves, and half of the nation trusts government. Government's just going to lead you into the herd, the sheep pen, and then to the slaughterhouse. You know, there's only so many people we could wake up. It's happening. People are waking up. But it's pretty fucking late. They used to call people like me crazy. I'm not crazy. I think for myself. I see the big picture. You're all arguing over trees, yet the whole forest is on fire, and you don't see it yet. You know, what are you going to do? You're going to climb a tree to escape a forest fire? That's basically what you're doing. It's insane. And it's become tribal. People just argue. They scream at one another. I'll put it to you this way. The good guys never disarmed the people. Because any government that's going to take away your guns is going to try to do something that would make you shoot them over. And with that, I got to go to bed. Links for these videos are in the description box below. Pray for Ukraine. Pray for the people of Russia. They gotta live under this guy, Putin. He should be strung up on war crimes. And well, America, you're heading into the same direction, whether you want to believe it or not. Keep giving up your guns. That's my minion. He's telling me that my phone's going off. Well, good luck, America. God bless. And well, stay free. Stop voting for government. Good night.